Another game, another failure to score any goal. What's going on? When will this end? We'll talk about that on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. Now, before we get things started, I want to let everyone know also that we are brought to you today by FanDuel. FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And honestly, at this point in time, you could probably put some money on the Blue Jackets not scoring a single goal and get something back from that, which I don't understand it. Like, at a certain point, you just have to kind of laugh about it, right? Because the Blue Jackets have scored more goals at home than basically any other team in the league this season. 4-game homestand, you're like, yes, this is going to be great. They lost a couple of games going into it, but they're back at home. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. And the Blue Jackets get shut out 3 games out of the 4. They score 1 goal in the other game. I don't understand what's going on. I mean, I do kind of understand what's going on. Like, it's a young team. It's a top-heavy offense. Injuries. Things just kind of run out of gas, right? And I think that's what's happening here. Is the Blue Jackets are just kind of out of gas. Doesn't help that they've had to play a ton of good teams. And I do think this was their best effort this season against the Florida Panthers, I'll say. They did get a point out of it. So they are still 3 points out of a playoff spot right now, with Montreal getting an overtime point against the Islanders. But, like, they got a bunch of out-of-town help last night. The Senators lost, the Flyers lost, and Boston lost as well, I believe. The Devils lost as well. Like, just everyone they needed to lose lost. Could have done without Montreal getting an overtime point, but it is what it is. Let's talk about the Blue Jackets, because that's what this podcast is. The game itself, again, and like I feel like I say this so many times when they're in the middle of these losing streaks, right? Is that, like, in a vacuum, this game, fine. You know, very similar to the game against the Rangers where Daniil Tarasov got the shutout despite them losing in the shootout, right? I thought Elvis was excellent last night. 27 of 28 saves for Elvis. I think had 25 of 25 going into overtime. The Blue Jackets lose 1-0. Overtime goal, power play goal. Just a really hilariously timed delay of game penalty. Like 30 seconds left in the game, and somehow Kromachenko managed to just shank it straight out of the rink. Again, you just have to kind of laugh at this point, but I liked so many things that this team did, right? I thought, again, when you look at how poorly they played against the Panthers earlier this month, they played them a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was a much better effort. I like the new line configurations. I was shocked and then pleasantly surprised at the choice to play the Danforth line against the Barkov line. I like it when that first started. I was like, "Oh, this is going to come back and bite them." But honestly, I thought that line did really well. Like, defensively, I thought they were pretty sound. Again, offense, they created offense. They just couldn't get anything with it. And again, like, this is not going to last forever. The shooting is going to return. It's just at what point does it return, right? Like, is it too little, too late? I've seen a lot of people, and I kind of have been guilty of this myself, of being like, well, that loss probably put an end to the Blue Jackets' playoff hopes. Not like that's not necessarily the case, right? Like you look at the teams around them are losing. Like Montreal is still hot. They're 6-1-3. The Islanders have gone 6-3-1 in their last 10 games. But then you look at like Detroit, they've gone 2-8. The Rangers 3-5-2. The Blue Jackets 3-6-1. Like it's still right there. You know, they're within 3 points of a playoff spot. Like I said, just win tonight. Like, we're going to talk about the Penguins game in a second here, but like, just win tonight. You're right back in there. Like, you'll be a point behind the Canadians. They'll have a game in hand. The Islanders will have a game in hand, but you'll still have a game in hand over the Rangers. They're right there. That's what's frustrating about this is I think it would be almost better. Like, it would be less frustrating, I think, if the Blue Jackets had, they've lost 5 games in a row, and you're like, oh, okay, well, now they're 8 points away from the playoffs. Like, it sucks, but, it's out of reach. It's not out of reach, and I think that's what's been so frustrating is that, like, you just get the one win. Like, if you go 500, if you win 2 games out of the 4 on this homestand, you're at, 74 points. You're right there. You're in that second wildcard spot. But because you didn't do that, you're not. But again, you it's so close. In terms of like again, good games, I thought there were a lot of decent games. I don't love the Jenna Voronkov Chinikov line. I don't know whether that's just kind of personal preference or what, but it just, I don't know, it didn't super work for me. I don't know what the answer is there because like that's the second line that you have right now. I liked the Johnson Marchenko Fantilli line, which shockingly was fun and exciting and did a lot of creation of offense. Yes, frustrating to have Marchenko take that penalty at the end, but they got the point, right? They got a point. Shame they couldn't get 2. And they allowed another power play goal. But we'll talk about special teams in a second here. I like that top line. I don't want to change that top line. So, like, what do you do with the second line, right? And my answer kind of remains the same. It's you call up Luca Del Barbaloos. Like, Boone Jenner is just not getting it done at center. And when you look at how good he was on the wing, like when he first came back from injury, right? And partially this was that the Blue Jackets knew how to score goals then. But I think partially also it was the fact that they didn't have to have Boone Jenner playing center. He was playing wing. He was creating a lot more. He didn't have to focus on kind of the extra responsibilities at center, and you were getting like a better, more effective Boone Jenner. Silja goes down to injury. Not ideal. Jenner has to step in. However, are we going to see one of Sillinger or Monahan tonight? It's possible. I don't think we're going to see Gabranson tonight. And again, we'll talk about the Penguins game in a second here. But like, it sounds to me like they're basically waiting on getting the okay from the medical staff, and they might get one of Sillinger or Monahan back tonight. It's the Penguins. They for a minute there they had like a little boost for a second. They are 4-5 points behind the Blue Jackets. They are 8 points out of a playoff spot. They're not like dead in the water yet. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. Again, we'll talk about the Penguins in a second, but like this is a game I think that you could maybe put Sillinger or Monahan into to kind of ease them back into it. Like last night, I understand why they didn't maybe want them to play. Like, hey, this is your first game especially for Monahan, it's your first game in 2.5 months. Welcome to the Florida Panthers. Sillinger, it sounds like they're also being a little bit cautious with for reasons of shoulders are weird and they don't want him to come back into the game and then immediately get hurt again. And, then he's out longer term. But I could definitely see one of the 2 of those guys back tonight versus the Penguins, which would be great. I want to talk a little bit more about last night's game, about what frustrated me about last night's game, beyond the fact that this team doesn't know how to score goals. But we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets.
Did you know getting a good night's sleep is the #1 recipe for long-term success in life? I didn't. It took me way longer to realize than I'd like to admit. It was years of tossing and turning. I was always tired. I never felt like I could live up to my potential, but not anymore. Thanks to Bare Mattress. I used their sleep quiz and I matched with the Elite Hybrid. It's perfect for side sleepers like me. Now I wake up energized. I'm getting deeper sleeps and I'm ready to attack the day. No matter how you sleep, Bare Mattress has a match for you with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. Go to baremattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout for 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's baremattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Baremattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk a little bit more about this game, because the offense is a problem. However, I thought defensively they were excellent. Special teams, I was going to talk a little bit about special teams, but Taylor's oldest time, right? Blue Jackets allow a power play goal, do not score one of their own. Went 0 for 2 on the power play, went 1 for 2 on the penalty kill. But I want to talk about goaltending a little bit, and I want to talk about defense. This was actually, I was just pulled up the average ice time to look. Shockingly, a shocking amount of ice time for the third pairing. This is about as balanced as I've seen the ice time, potentially since Dante Fabro got to the team. So Zach Werenski played over 25 minutes, because of course he did. Fabro and Provorov played over 21. And then Severson, Matejchuk, and Johnson all played about 16 to 17 minutes. I still think that Matejchuk is banged up, and that's why he's not playing a ton right now. But Severson and Johnson played way more than I expected them to. And they weren't awful. Damon Severson kind of had a rough first period, I thought, but he pulled it together. Jack Johnson, I thought, was Jack Johnson, in that he was exactly what I wanted from him, which was that he got on the ice and was not like an abject disaster as soon as he got on the ice, right? Like, did he create much of anything? No, not really. Did he give up much of anything? Also, no, not really, right? Got a little bit hairy at the end of the third period. I don't know why Jack Johnson and Ivan Provorov were the guys that you put on the ice with 30 seconds left in regulation when you're on the penalty kill, but they got it done. They made it work. But overall, I thought defensively, a much better effort than we've seen in recent games, right? Like, yes, they got outshot by the Panthers, but a lot of that work was done in the first period. Florida came out hot. The Blue Jackets kind of got caught flat-footed. They picked it up. They figured it out. They actually outshot the Panthers in the second and third periods. And then overtime, I would love to know what overtime would have looked like if it had started at even strength, because it was one goal and in, right? Like, one shot and in, I should say. It was on the power play. Like, the Blue Jackets, I thought, were really, really great at even strength. And honestly, I thought they were good on the kill. Up until that point, which, like, an overtime penalty kill is kind of... It's 4-on-3, so it's a completely different beast, right? But, like, I thought the first penalty kill was solid. The power play was kind of a disaster. I actually almost tweeted about how the power play, though it didn't create anything, looked good. And then Adam Fantilli gave the puck away and then had to do that ridiculous, like, double pad stack move in front of the net, which was cool as hell, but also extremely stressful, because every time this team takes a penalty, I just assume that a shorthanded goal is going to come. Every time this team takes a power play, I assume that a shorthanded goal is going to come very shortly after. And, like, maybe that's on me for not trusting in the team, but sometimes they do stupid stuff like that, which is just give the puck away in the middle of the ice. Great move by Fantilli to block that shot. Would have been nice if he didn't have to do it at all, right? And these are the kind of things that are going to happen with, young players in the league, is they're going to make mistakes like this, and hopefully that kind of mistake he won't make again, because I'm sure he doesn't want to do that again, where he, has to block a shot on the power play. Just, you see, very rarely does Adam Fantilli make a mistake twice, right? You see him make a mistake, and it doesn't, generally speaking, knock on wood, doesn't happen again. Will we see it tonight? Almost definitely, because now I've talked about it. But again, for the most part, power play aside, I liked a lot of this game, but we're right back into there's no moral victories, right? There's no, we were close, we're almost there, right? You have to just win the damn game. And they didn't do that. They didn't win the damn game. They made it to overtime. Great. They got a point. That's the only point in the last 10 potential points that they've gotten, right? Like, they've won one game in the last 2 weeks. Their last win was that Rangers game where they had the 2 short-handed goals. Even in the win, I thought they looked shaky. Now, I will say, and I talked about this a little bit, credit to Elvis for keeping this team in it. In that first period, when Florida was really flying, they outshot the Blue Jackets 13-5 in the first period. I thought Elvis was far and away the best player for the Blue Jackets. Obviously, he's got that dad strength. His wife had a baby earlier this week, and this was his first game since the baby arrived. Which, relatedly, actually, Jack Reeves was called up on emergency recall basically as soon as this game was done, which makes me think that what they're going to do is travel with Tarasov and Greaves, and Elvis will stay home because brand new baby. But Elvis was great tonight. Gave this team a chance. Again, how many times have we seen this season where the goalie shows up and the team can't give them a goal, right? And Bobrovsky played great on the other end as well. That is his second shutout of the season against the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets haven't scored on Sergei Bobrovsky all season, which is sure, why not, right? At least they didn't let Seth Jones score a goal on them, because that was what I thought the entire it occurred to me halfway through the third period, and I was like, man, it's going to be a 1-0 game, and it's going to be a Seth Jones goal. And I didn't allow myself to vocalize that because I can only use my psychic powers for evil, and it didn't happen, which is great. So that's why I'm talking about it now. But both goalies were great. Good for Barkov to get the goal. It would have been real nice if the Blue Jackets had, rewarded Elvis after, Elvis has had a couple of shaky games in the past week or so. Would have been nice if the Blue Jackets could have rewarded a good Elvis game. But here we are. Again, we're back to trying to figure out why this team can't score goals. They can't possibly just keep running into hot goalies for the rest of the season, right? I know this. Logically, I know this. Logically, I know that this team is going to score goals again this season. But I am sitting here, there is that tiny part of my brain that's just what if they just don't score another goal all season? What if they just get shut out for the last 12 games of the season, or however many they have left? And that's not going to happen. But when you get to, a 5-game losing streak and you've been shut out 3 times in that losing streak, you start to think, man, maybe though, what if they just forget how to score? What if they just don't score again for the rest of the season? Obviously, that's not going to happen. They're going to score a bunch of goals tonight. It's going to be great. We are manifesting this. And we'll talk about tonight's game in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about 5-Hour Energy. Daylight savings has snuck up on us again. If you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late, watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in around a golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I am constantly staying up late for games that I shouldn't, and I need that little boost sometimes when I have to wake up at 8 a.m. the next morning. And 5-hour energy is on the go convenience. I can just grab it and go. It's great. They've got a bunch of delicious flavors, watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango, tropical burst. And you can build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Just head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Or do you need one right now? Grab a 5-hour energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. So stock up today and stay energized with 5-hour energy. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins, who looked like they were in the process of mounting a pretty remarkable attempt to force their way back into the playoffs. They did this last season, right? Sidney Crosby decided this team was making the playoffs, and it didn't come through, but when every other team in that wildcard race was like, actually, no, we don't want the playoffs, thank you, Sidney Crosby was like, well, I'll do it. The Penguins went on a ridiculous heater and, just kind of fell short. This is a different Penguins team to last season. They're not getting the goaltending they need. They're not getting the scoring that they need from basically anyone but Sidney Crosby, who at the age of a billion has 74 points in 68 games because, again, every time someone suggests that Crosby might be like done and washed, he rips the opponent's heart out and eats it in front of you. He's leading the team in scoring by 15 points. Bonkers. But the Penguins are 28, 32, and 10. They are 5 points behind the Blue Jackets. And the Blue Jackets have beat them both times this season. They won 6-2 back in November. They won 4-3 in January. This is the last matchup of the season for these two teams. Now, can the Blue Jackets get it done? Is the big question. Looks like it's going to be Neil Tarasov in net. He played very well against the Rangers. And he also played, was that his most recent game? Yeah. He was fine against the Rangers. Actually, I was mixing up the games. The March 9th game against the Rangers, he was great. The game against Detroit before that, he was great. This will be his first game in about a week, which is not like a great recipe for success with Tarasov because he does get rusty. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know who the Penguins are going to play. Both of their goalies have been pretty poor this season. Tristan Jarry has an .895 save percentage. Alex Nedeljkovic has an .891. Tristan Jarry, I think, played more recently. He played March 18th against the Islanders. Had a .919, 3 goals allowed on 37 shots, but still a loss. Which I guess means Nedeljkovic probably played... Oh, no, Nedeljkovic hasn't played since March 7th. So the Penguins have had some time off there. But my guess is it's probably going to be Jarry. He has slightly better stats. He's performed slightly better, which does potentially mean that the Blue Jackets can enjoy scoring a goal on the first shot of the game, which I think would do a ton for their confidence, right? Like, it's been rough. The Blue Jackets haven't scored first in a million games. I don't actually think it's been a million games, but it's been a lot of games. The outdoor game might have been the last time that they scored first, quite honestly, which is not great because that was 8 games ago. But the Penguins have had shaky goaltending. They've kind of made up for it a little bit with the fact that, again, Sidney Crosby seems content to be a point-a-game player at the age of 35 or however old he is, 36. He's got 8 points in his last 5 games, including 5 goals. Rickard Rakell has 4 assists in his last 5 games, and I believe is currently second in scoring on the team. Yeah. Brian Rust continues to be one of those guys, again, surgically attached to Sidney Crosby. Evgeny Malkin has slowed down a little bit this year. And then you've got Erik Karlsson on the back end, who's got 49 points in 70 games. Those are like your big hitters on offense. This should be a win for the Blue Jackets, right? They've had it's been a rough run of teams. So, like, their last 8 games, they've played Tampa Bay, playoff team, Florida, playoff team, Rangers, fighting for the playoffs, Devils, playoff team, Vegas, playoff team, Rangers, fighting for the playoffs, Devils, playoff team, Panthers, playoff team. The last 2 games before that were both against Detroit, who, again, are fighting for the playoffs. Like, they haven't had a game that I would consider easy in what feels like forever. Like, let me pull up the schedule real quick to see, like, the last game that I would consider where the Blue Jackets are going to have an easy time of it. If the Blue Jackets website will let me. I guess not. This is fine. Here we go. So, yeah. The last 10 games against either playoff opponents or opponents within, I think, literally 2 points of the playoffs. Before that, they played the Dallas Stars playoff team. Before that, they played the Chicago Blackhawks. That was the last, like, easy game, I would say. So since the 4 Nations break, they've played, 12 games? And one of those has been against a non-playoff opponent, or basically a playoff opponent. The games, so, like, they need this, I think, is they need a game where the opponent isn't fighting tooth and nail to either improve their playoff position or make the playoffs or stay in the playoffs, right? Penguins are kind of on the outside looking in. They're not, like, completely dead in the water, but I do think they might be fading out to finish the season, right? The Blue Jackets could use a game like this. Will they? Who only knows? In the last 5 games, the Blue Jackets' leading scorer is Mathieu Olivier. He's got 3 goals in his last 5 games. Three of those, 3 points, all goals. Zach Werenski has 1 assist in his last 5 games, which is extremely un-Werenski-like. Last night, I believe, was the 4th game in a row that he went without a point, which he hadn't done all season long. You'd like to see him break that streak tonight. I'm going to do predictions in a second, but I think I'm going to predict that. I predicted a Zach Werenski goal last night and didn't get it, but I do think tonight will be the one. I'm feeling positive. But they need to show up. They need to figure out how, like, again, we're back to, I don't care how they do it, win. I don't care if it's the stupidest goal that has ever been scored. Like, I don't know if people saw the William Eklund goal last night, the shorthanded goal against the Hurricanes. Score a goal like that. I don't care. Score the stupidest goal possible. Score the dirtiest goal possible. Like, make the other team furious with how stupid the goal is. Just win. Just win the game. Get 2 points. Move on. That's kind of where I'm at now. Like, it doesn't matter how you do it. Just do it. Just win. That's all you're going to do. Like, score more than 1 goal would be a start, but just win the game. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think it's going to be a 6-3 Blue Jackets win, which does worry me that that's all of the goals for the next week and a half that they're going to spend, but what the hell? That's what I'm predicting. 6-3 Blue Jackets win. A Zach Werenski goal. Let's get a Zach Werenski goal. Let's get that franchise record. He's not going to break the single-season points record, I don't think. He's at 69 points. He needs 87. So he needs 18 points in his last 10 games, which was doable a week ago, and then they didn't score anything for like a week and a half. So if he scores a goal, that'll be 21 goals. That's a franchise record for Blue Jackets defensemen in a single season. Let's do it. Let's have some fun. We'll be back tomorrow, or potentially Sunday. We'll break down the Penguins game. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You know how it is. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockdownbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.